Hey, it's KMK. Now, the lead up to Game of Thrones' epic battle of the bastards in episode 9 was one of the weirdest things we've ever got in Game of Thrones. There was so much contention around the characters and the motivations, what people were doing, and how Jon was acting stupid and getting on tilt, how Rickon wasn't zigzagging, how Sansa was acting like an idiot, how the plans could have been easily foiled, how Ramsay didn't have any advance notice of a giant army moving all the way up the north. Everything just seemed off, and I want to discuss in depth one particular scene, the conversation between Sansa and Jon after their war room meeting before the battle.
So you've met the enemy, drawn up your battle plans.
Aye, for what they're worth.
You've known him for the space of a single conversation. You and your trusted advisors, and you sit around making your plans on how to defeat a man you don't know.
Okay, so we start off this scene with Sansa coming right into Jon, trying to go on the offensive, trying to hammer home a point, but it doesn't seem she has a point, so it just kind of feels like she's attacking him for no reason. Like in the beginning, Jon was quite calm, he was like kind of treating it like a relaxing kind of moment just with the sister, wasn't really on guard, and then out of nowhere, she starts accusing him of like ignoring her and not listening to her advice and stuff like that, and he's just kind of like, what? She sounds so condescending and bad, like you've met the enemy, you've drawn out their battle plans, like what else do you expect from these people? Like, she says you don't know this person at all. Like, people often fight commanders that they don't personally know or have ever really met with. It's not uncommon to not personally know the person you're fighting against. Like, I really don't understand here what she expects Jon to do. Is he supposed to look Ramsay up on Facebook? What, like, he's an unknown figure. And as much as she claims to have expert knowledge into his character and how he acts and how his commands and his different strategies and stuff, she's been locked in a tower. All she knows is how sadistic he is. And that doesn't really help you immensely when it comes to their fighting style. Like, the main thing in this scene that really sticks out is how accusatory she is for the fact that they're sitting around making plans. It's like, how dare you make plans and judgments about a person you don't know well? It's like, what else are you going to do? You're going to have to fight them. You know, she doesn't offer up information. She doesn't do anything. She just kind of accuses them for planning. What?
I lived with him. I know the way his mind works. I know how he likes to hurt people. Did it ever once occur to you that I might have some insight?
Yes. Yes, he did. Now, Sansa says this right after she just spent probably hours standing in the war room. The war room. She's right there. Like, right there. She's literally standing in the one place where they organize and plan and look at advice and every single different strategy about the enemy and the options and the places and their fighting style and everything. She's there. She can offer advice at any point to all of these different commanders and people who have had experience in fighting, but she stays silent the entire time and complains about not being heard. What? You can't win.
You're right.
You think he's going to fall into your trap? He won't. He's the one who lays traps.
He's overconfident.
He plays with people. He's far better at it than you. He's been doing it all his life.
Aye, and what have I been doing all my life? Playing with broomsticks. I've fought beyond the wall against worse than Ramsay Bolton. I've defended the wall from worse than Ramsay Bolton.
You don't know him.
Don't worry, I'm not just going to talk about Sansa. I'm also talking about the plethora of mistakes that Jon makes in this little build-up to the Battle of the Bastards. So, like, at first he gives Sansa the benefit of the doubt. She's like, okay, I'll hear you out. So Sansa points out that she doesn't think the plan will work, and that the trap won't actually work at all. Even though it's not really much of a trap, it's just don't charge them and let them come to you, which is just more of a very vague tactic, not a trap. And then she just says, I think he's smarter than you, and he's going to outplay you, and he's better than you, which is just straight up an insult. Doesn't know much about Jon, just assumes that Ramsay's going to be better. Like, don't get me wrong, like, it's the correct assumption, but it's still an assumption. So this is when Jon decides to point towards his massive CV and experience of fighting as the commander of the wall, which has kind of always been one-sided, you know, having a ginormous wall and and you're not even trying to fight them, you're just trying to stop them from getting over your wall. Yeah.
All right, tell me. What should we do? How do we get Rickon back?
We'll never get him back.
So again, Jon kind of concedes. He's like, okay, what advice do you have? If you haven't felt comfortable to share it with the entire war room anytime before this point, or anything like that, share it now again with me so that we can discuss your points and stuff like that. And she's like, well, we're not getting Rickon back. That's the entire reason you're here. That's what I convinced you to come with.
Rickon is Ned Stark's true-born son, which makes him a greater threat to Ramsay than you, a bastard, or me, a girl. As long as he lives, Ramsay's claim to Winterfell will be contested, which means he won't live long.
So Sansa says that Rickon won't survive the end of this fight, whether we win or lose, because he's just too valuable of a figure for Ramsay to let live. Now personally, I agree with Sansa on this point. Ramsay, the numbers, the characterizations, the positions they're in, the negotiating skills, all of this makes it so it's just not possible for them to ever be able to get Rickon back, and it was just a lost hope for them to really try without like an insurgents team. And we all know how well that worked for the Greyjoys, so it's probably not an option. All that being true, Jon is still very shocked because he thought that was the mission. That is why they are doing this, to regain their home and their brother being an important part of that. What he doesn't know is that Sansa has made a very clear decision. She wants revenge and power over her home and family. She's willing to let Jon die, she's willing to let Rickon die, if it means it leads to a clearer path to victory and her sweet, sweet revenge. Now you can watch this video here where I talk about why Sansa betrayed Jon, and I talk about the Knights of the Vale and why she chose to not tell him about that, and why she chose to use him as a pawn, as someone to go in, overextend, get taken out by Ramsay's forces, so Ramsay ends up overextending and the Knights of the Vale can have a clean win. Why she let Rickon die in the beginning, because she wasn't willing to use the negotiating powers or these other tactics. Like, it was the clearest and easiest path of victory. For a sound-minded, strategic person, she made the right decision there, but it was a betrayal of her trust with Jon and of her brother. But she made that decision. Now when that happened, I thought it was a pretty cool change to her character. We could see a new pathway for her and the way she's going to kind of be in the future. Then she kind of backpedals on that quite a bit after they win the fight. So it could have been it was just like a temporary thing that they did to her character because she wanted revenge against Ramsay so much. And now she's going back to the more homely kind of side where she cares about her family and doesn't really care that Jon took away all her power and birthright in front of all the Lords of the North. But you never know, they could really expand on this in Season 7 and get some really interesting stuff.
We can't give up on our brother.
Listen to me, please. He wants you to make a mistake.
Of course he does. What should I do differently?
I don't know. I don't know anything about battles. Just...
So this clip here really explains very bluntly everything about the scene. One, it starts with Jon saying, what exactly do you want or propose that I do differently in this battle or beforehand? And she says, I don't know. And then she says she knows nothing about battles, which is the most unhelpful thing in the world. Especially when you're whining about how no one's listening to you and your advice about battles. And then we get this beautiful gem.
Just don't do what he wants you to do.
That's good advice.
You think that's obvious?
Well, it is a bit obvious.
So this bit here is really great. Now, it would be perfect to make fun of Sansa with this scene, mainly because she just seems like she's giving the most stupid advice possible. And then Jon, from his later on events, manages to flip it to make it look like he's the most stubborn idiot ever in the scene, because he does exactly what she wants not to do. Like, it's pretty obvious when Ramsay makes his captive run while shooting arrows at him, he's trying to taunt you in. But then Jon manages to fall for it entirely and rides out there and kind of throws the entire fight. But I will give him some slack because I understand that they've got different mission statements between him and Sansa. Sansa was there for revenge against Ramsay, like absolutely brutal revenge against Ramsay, where his drive came from saving his family, his brother, and his home. And he would have got away with it too if it wasn't for those damn meddling anti-zigzaggers. Never letting people zigzag.
If you had asked for my advice earlier, I would have told you not to attack Winterfell until we had a larger force. Or is that obvious
When
too?
will we have a larger force?
Now, she's right in the fact that Jon did not ask her for advice on whether they should continue to get met or not. But she gave her advice anyway to him. Remember that? Why is she bringing it up again?
It's not enough. We need more men.
We've pleaded with every house that'll have us. The Blackfish can't help us. We're lucky to have this many men.
It's not enough.
No, it's not enough. It's what we have.
Actually, we have a giant Vale army, but I won't tell you about that.
Any advice?
Don't lose.
Why do I even try? Hey guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, like my Facebook page, subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment below, go to my Patreon, give me $1 billion, share this on Reddit, Google+, Facebook, Twitter, 4chan, some random fucking forum post. Why do I even try?